So, hey guys, today we're talking about rockets and just pure rockets and how they kind of just suck ass. So, the first thing that makes all of the rockets just kind of bad, or just straight up bad, really, is well, I mean, they could get support in the future, technically, but the first word on the rocket cards here, when. When a Link monster's effect is activated that targets this face-up card on the field, quick effect, you can destroy this card, then send one monster on the field to the graveyard. So the effect itself, don't get me wrong, this effect is pretty good. So it will destroy itself, and then send one monster on the field to the graveyard, non-targeting. And then we also have the effect here, where during the end phase, if this card is, if it was destroyed on the field by battle or card effect, so that would include its own effect, and it was sent there this turn, you can special summon a rocket monster from your deck except for Magna Rocket Dragon. So this honestly wouldn't be the best strategy, but it would be at least playable if this card didn't say when. But you know the issue with if this card did not say when. So when effects, they will happen immediately after whatever the effect says is the trigger. That's the difference between this and like an if, right? Ifs never really happen without something else happening in a different chain for the most part. So they're much more dependent on a different action, but that action can happen kind of whenever versus how whens work, I guess. So for example, I normal summon a guy that can trigger a when effect of a monster in like hand or something. But that has to be like the last action in the chain, which would be technically the first action, which is like weird to think about a little bit. But yeah, if we did like a special summon that triggered something like special summon this monster and then draw a card type deal, that would miss timing because the last action that took place was not a special summon. It was like the effect to add a card, which is something. But if we had the same effect as an if, that would happen in another chain after whatever happens, right? And even if we do the search there, it won't miss timing. But also because this is like kind of spot removal and stuff, I don't know, that this will happen in the immediate chain as well. So this will really matter if we're performing some kind of special summon. Usually, I guess something from the extra deck, like let's say a fusion summon. So we have normal summon Fallen of Albaz, and then we'll read this card as if it's an if, and then if it's a when. So if it's a when, then we can go Fallen of Albaz, Chainlink 1, Chainlink 2, a Link monster should target the Magna Rocket, and then Magna Rocket will Chainlink 3 and be able to remove Fallen of Albaz. If this were an if, then we can target Magna Rocket and absolutely nothing will happen. And then if Fallen of Albaz resolves and Magna Rocket is still on the field, then Magna Rocket will be able to resolve the effect to destroy itself and then send a monster on the field. So it's like a timing issue. The thing that we should be keenly aware of here is more so not what we're doing, but what our opponent is doing here, right? So that would be like, I guess the other issue with this is, of course, like your opponent chain blocking Magna Rocket. So what's the worst card we could possibly activate? Walk Kinetic Patir. So we go like Chainlink 2, or not Chainlink 2, Chainlink 3, Walk Kinetic Patir to prevent Magna Rocket from being activable. And then to activate this effect, you would need another Link monster to target Magna Rocket for it to trigger its effect, which is pretty terrible, I'd say. In fact, honestly, if you changed one word on SP, these cards would be a lot better. So if I recall correctly, SP says banish them. So if this card is no longer on the field, SP's banish effect no longer works. That, and also if you were to target two of your rocket monsters for SP effect, they would chain block one another, which also sucks. But the interesting thing is you'd have a choice in which one you're activating. But of course, you also have no choice if your opponent activates literally any card in chain to your SP. So, yeah, just having the word when makes these guys pretty much just impossible to do anything with, which is why all of the Boral cards have this one line of text. Your opponent cannot activate cards or effects in response to this effect's activation. So if we were to specifically use Boral Sword's effect to turn a guy to defense position is not respondable, and the rockets are why. It's so you can properly resolve your rocket monsters. But yeah, basically, we can think of it this way. When effects will trigger when something occurs, or they will be able to trigger in the same chain link if its activation condition is met. Ifs will resolve in effectively a new chain, and they will be, for the most part, activating as triggers in a new chain. Of course, there are if triggers for like destroyed by battle and stuff, which is a little bit different, I guess. But for the most part, ifs will happen in a new chain, so they won't be able to interact with something happening in a chain you're building, right? So if I were to like normal summon a guy and activate any sort of effect, that this guy and that effect will just fully resolve against any sort of if effect. But the things on the next chain would be affected by it. So for example, we have an if condition to board wipe, like destroy the field essentially. That's how you would expect it to work. A long way to kind of get into this, I guess, would be the Fire King cards, which makes these kind of bad in some situations, I suppose. So we have Fire King Sanctuary, which allows you to special summon a Fire XYZ monster. So in this case, you're likely going to be special summoning a Runic. So that would be like Chainling 1, we do something. In this case, the trigger would be a special summon. So we special summon something, we're able to activate that card, our opponent chains Fire King Sanctuary. And if that card summons another card, that card can also trigger, and then we will special summon um, the Hyang, and then it will do the destroy effect. So the destroy will happen in Chainlink 2, but which is or not Chainlink 2, in the second chain, which that takes kind of a hot minute. And if we were to assume instead of being a destroy effect, we had a negate effect instead, then it becomes even more jank, because now you also have to consider chain link order. Because if we're on the higher chain link, it will negate, but if we're on the lower, it will not negate. And yeah, truly a Yu-Gi-Oh moment. Which is why, if I recall correctly, in the TCG, the timing on your hand traps, these guys count as like triggers, and these function in OCG like quick effects. So if we have Ghost Mourner and Moonlit Chill, this can effectively miss timing because of chain link order being completely unable to negate monsters' effects. So the order would be like, because this is a trigger, if I recall correctly, well, it depends on whose turn it is, I guess, but let's see. If I special summon a guy, it's Ghost Mourner, Moonlit Chill, Chainlink 1, and then Chainlink 2 would be the trigger effect. That is a possibility in TCG. So that's dumb for this card specifically. That's all I wanted to say, really. But alright. Going back to the Rocket cards. Because we missed timing here. Just kind of feels awful. And then there's also the fact that our Link one, Striker Dragon, has synergy with the Rockets. And by that, I mean, you have synergy in the sense that, oh, with Striker Dragon, I can trigger all of my Rocket cards. But then also at the same time, you're not resolving Striker Dragon's effect because it has to destroy to resolve its effect. You can target one face-up monster you control and one rocket monster in your graveyard, destroy that monster on the field. And if you do, so if you don't, you don't add that other monster from the graveyard to your hand. So yeah, that sucks. And well, this just feels like old archetype is old kind of moment. Like with Thunder Dragon, if you were against a deck like Runic, like it just feels miserable. And it's not like specifically like, I mean, Runic I don't think has that good of a matchup into Thunder Dragon, but the main issue here is that you can't activate any of your effects because they just keep missing timing, because they get effectively more or less chain blocked by the Runic cards. And also, now that I think about it, is Colossus activatable in damage step? Or not Colossus, Titan. Even during the damage step. Well, that answered my question. But I mean, even then, this can kind of get blocked by things that negate activation. So we're looking at like Chainlink 1, the level 1 Thunder Dragon card, right? And then Chainlink 2, Apollosa. And then Titan cannot resolve. And that's just kind of miserable. But if this was not specifically a when, then this wouldn't be able to activate in the same chain at all. So if we were to go like, so let's say we have Thunder Dragon Titan, we have Thunder Dragon, just regular Thunder Dragon Dark, and then we have Thunder Dragon Matrix. We can go like Chainlink 1, Thunder Dragon, Chainlink 2, Titan, Chainlink 3, Thunder Dragon Dark, Chainlink 4, Titan, Chainlink 5, Matrix, Chainlink 6, Titan, right? But if this were an if, it would be like in a new chain, Titan, Titan, Titan. And that is just a lot worse for certain situations. Like when you're activating, for example, a field spell or some sort of continuous. Well, it depends on the exact card, but for a lot of them will be like on activation, add a card or a special summon or something, right? So if we can't like Titan effect on the same chain, so it would be like Chainlink 3 Titan to whatever that effect is, then the search will always go off, which makes when effects like still technically required, but it feels just kind of terrible to play. And if we were just getting hit by Runic Quick Plays every single time we were attempting to activate something, you can just imagine how terrible that'd be, right? So, what do we got cooking here? I feel like not much, really. So if we want to play pure Rockets, though, it's kind of a pain because you need to make like Link 4s and 5s, and then you still need Rocket monsters on the field. And then if you do have some Rocket monsters, I guess, you can resolve their effects then. But also at the same time, like, if I were to Borderland target one of my own Rocket guys, it still feels kind of bad because, let's read the whole effect. You target one effect monster on the field and one Rocket monster in your graveyard, negate the effects of that monster on the field, and if you do, so if you don't, you do not special summon that other monster from your graveyard. Where have I seen this before? And then, you don't get to special summon the guy from graveyard. So, do you want me to have like a Borderland plus like a Beauregard or what was it called? Boral Sword? And then some rocket monsters. Is that how you want me to play rockets? I guess. Sure. That's something. But also, Borderland is pretty useful for recycling rockets because they would kind of get stuck in the graveyard, I suppose. You know, like a little bit. You can technically summon them back with Boot Sector Launch, but yeah, that's going to be difficult and not something you can do that often. And you will run out of targets to special summon with the graveyard effects, eventually running out of targets to special summon proper. So, yeah, that's all I got for you guys today. And hopefully that um was pretty insightful, I guess, into some when effect action. But also, man, I actually like playing these decks, but you know, because of how they work, they're kind of bad. Well, actually, thinking if my opponent doesn't have too many quick play options or like just quick effects, maybe I could work out something. But also, just being unable to activate your effects just feels terrible. I guess the main issue is that you have a dependency on something else. So I guess if I were to change how these cards worked. So with the rocket ones, I have no idea what you would do about this. I would need to think on that more. But with the Thunder Dragon cards, I mean, they've already been printed, so you can't really change the text at this point. But for Titan in particular, I would change it to just a raw quick effect. So it would be something like quick effect, destroy one card on the field. You can activate this effect an additional time if you activated a Thunder Monsters effect from hand or something like that. Like that type of deal, I guess. So it's no longer a when, but still a quick effect. And able to activate multiple times. Speaking of which, worth mentioning is there are no if quick effects. There are just raw quick effects or when quick effects. Thought I'd throw that out there. So yeah, that's all I got for you guys today, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.